Hey, babies! It's me, Geno. Welcome to Geno's Thing of the Day, where we do take a look at one of Geno's things, and it's usually a day. Although, ironically enough, I've only recorded this during the day once. Normally record at night. I don't know, I'm a night owl. So anyway, hey, I'm glad you're here. I'm really glad you're here. You know, whenever we hang out together like this, it just makes my heart soar like an eagle. So, it's still Christmas time, believe it or not. And another gtod. And you're saying, hey, we got a thing today, Geno? Got an awesome thing today. As some of you may know, I'm kind of into fishing a little bit. So I thought I'd show you a Christmas thing that is also like a fishing thing. So here it is. It is, yeah. It's a fishing Santa. Complete. Yep, it's got a creel down there instead of a bag of toys, and a vest instead of the big red coat. But yeah, fishing Santa. He's got a fish on the line. Can you see that? I hope you can see that. Blah, blah, blah. See the fish there? Right here? Ah. Anyway, yeah. Fishing Santa. That's so cool. Now, y'all know that there's that show, Beloved Christmas Show, animated. It's on every year at Christmas time. And I know what you might be thinking. You might be thinking, Geno, there's a bunch of those. And hey, you'd be right. There's a bunch of those. But today, we are, tonight actually, talking about one specific one of those things. And that specific thing is actually the thing that started all the things that they like set the stage, set the precedent, invented the yearly annual, holiday family sit down and watch together, which some of you kids might be too young and you don't remember what it's like. Leave a comment if you know what I'm talking about. It used to be like shows like that, like you had one shot a year to watch it. It came on, it was programming. There was no streaming, there was no cable, there was no nothing like that. If you wanted to watch a show, you know, just like Wizard of Oz, you had to wait 1 year. Every year they'd show it, around that same time. But so anyway, this kind of started that whole trend. And the show is, of course, well, not of course, but Charlie Brown Christmas. 1965, that come to be. In fact, December 9th, 1965 was the premiere air date of that. And the thing was, it was originally planned, it was just a one-off thing. TV did that. TV was still fairly young. And they'd have these Christmas specials, and they were just designed up, one-off, we'll show it, and then it's done, the next year, whatever, you come up with new specials. So CBS, they thought they'd really made a big win. They got the big guy from the comics, Peanuts, the Peanuts gang, Charles M. Schulz. And they were excited about it. So they found a couple directors, Lee Mendelson, Robert Melendez. So they basically had about 6 months to make this thing for a 30-minute TV show, it's a pretty big chunk to ask in just 6 months. Because, they virtually start from scratch. They had to write the story. They had to cast it. They had to do the animation. They had to record and edit and write a score and record the score and all of that stuff. Now, when it finally was aired and all the suits sat down and watched it, their reaction was, one quote is saying, "My God, we killed it." They thought it was a huge flop. They're like, "Oh my God." But it was so close to deadline, there was no backup plan. And they'd already been promoting this, Charlie Brown, from Charles M. Schultz, the creative mind that created the Peanuts game, Charlie Brown Christmas. You've got they sound like a bunch of little kids. And they're like, well, they are. Those are actual kids reading those parts. And they don't even sound like actors. Well, they're not actors. We just went to local schools, a couple kids of production team members, and they're just reading. So they had a problem with that. And then there was the whole jazz music thing at that time. Oh, everybody was like, this is a show for kids. You're not going to be into jazz music, West Coast smooth jazz. So that, and it was just a slow pace and kind of mellow. Because they were all expecting, in the mid-'60s, you had of the Saturday morning cartoons. They were expecting that when they signed on to an animated holiday special. They wanted lively music, lots of flutes and xylophones and running around in action. And as we know, watching A Charlie Brown Christmas, that's not at all what was delivered. And one last final thing they had a problem with was they didn't have any laugh tracks. All the sitcoms back then, they all had laugh tracks, so the audiences would know when to laugh. Now, Charles Schultz, when he went into this and agreed, he had three cardinal sins that thou must not commit if you're going to make my comic strip into a TV show. Okay? One was, I want actual kid voices. They've got to be real. Two was, no laugh track. He's like, I don't want some machine telling people what's funny and when they're supposed to laugh. So, no laugh track, he insisted. And also, he insisted that you could not stray from the true meaning of Christmas. He wanted that a part of it, and keep it true to that. And as we know, he did. So CBS tried to bury and nix the jazz early on, and they couldn't. And you see, the music come about. It was Lee Mendelson, one of the directors of this, was in a San Francisco taxi cab. This is way, way, way before Uber and Lyft and all that. So this guy, Lee's in this cab, San Francisco, and the radio that the driver happens to have on his cab was a jazz station, and it played a song by Vince Guaraldi. And Lee heard that, and he's like, that's it. That's the music we got to have for that. And he right after that, they contacted Guaraldi, and he agreed to do it, said sure, in only 6 months. It's amazing. They actually is finished 10 days before it was supposed to air on the 9th. 10 days they handed the finished project. In fact, they were still in that remaining 10 days finishing up on editing and music and fixing little glitches. So, I mean, it was right down to the wire. So, they aired it, and all the execs are they're ready to fall on their swords at home with, double martinis in each hand, watching this thing saying, oh my God, what a flop. Oh, my career is over. That's it. It's ruined. But what happened was, on that evening, prime time, December 9th, 1965, over 46% of America tuned in and watched that show. And, the thing is, It's not like today. That was a big deal. You didn't have much to choose from, and if you were choosing to watch that show, it's not like you could go catch, a YouTube video on what you missed elsewhere. That was it. You watched that, you couldn't see anything else. 46%, which that's huge. That's still pretty good today. But he did, and it was just instantly a classic. I mean, here it is, over 60 years later, and it's still on network TV. I don't know, a lot of y'all maybe have not seen network TV in a while, but believe it or not, it's still there. Not only was it a huge success with America, it was a success with the critics and with everybody. In fact, it won the Primetime Emmy for Best Children's Programming, and it also took a Peabody Award. So it did quite well. And the soundtrack, it was released in to this day, is one of the best-selling jazz albums of all time. And it won a Grammy. So you got the Emmy, the Grammy for the soundtrack, the Peabody Awards. So the show, needless to say, was a resounding success. Like I said, instant classic. We're still watching it today. Linus, the characters. Come on, we all do. Linus in his blanket, right? Linus always has his blanket, and he does amazing things. You see him use it like a slingshot, comfort people, and a headband, and just, everything. Kind of like a towel. If you know what that's from, leave a comment. Have you got your towel? Always have a towel. During the nativity scene, quoted right from the Gospel according to Luke, and because remember, Schultz, one of his demands was the true meaning of Christmas be included in this. During the nativity story, you remember Linus steps up, he asks for the spotlight, and he says, and they were so afraid. And the angel said unto them, Fear not, for behold, I bring great tidings of joy, and it shall be for all people. Now, if you did not notice, what happened is when Linus said, Fear not, he dropped that blanket to the floor. One of the only times, if you know Peanuts lore, that you see Linus without his blanket. Another time is at the end of the show. He takes his blanket and they use it to wrap around, the tree. And, after the awards and the ratings and, just all the accolades and the positive reviews and all that, CBS went ahead and said, we're going to just program this right now. Save a slot at Christmas time. We're going to show this again. And they ordered more specials from Schultz and this team, Mendelsohn and Melendez, such as Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown and Thanksgiving Charlie Brown. All those specials that you see were at this time, and then the other networks started following suit. ABC and CBS and NBC, all of them, and they had you had Rudolph and Frosty the Snowman and just all these stories, and yes, they said, wow, it's a guaranteed rating spot, and they all started that programming in those yearly annual, like a family event, sit down and around their little TV set and watch. Which, speaking of their TV sets, 65 is very, very early on in the days of color TV. Now, if I asked you, what color is Snoopy's doghouse? You'd all say red, right? We've all seen it. In A Charlie Brown Christmas, his doghouse is blue. That's right. The reason being, the actual comic strip that Schultz wrote was black and white. It was in the newspaper, it was just black and white print. So when it got to the animators, they kind of had free reign, let your imagination soar to some extent. Red, at that time, the technology was a really bad color on TV. It would bleed and wash out and just get fuzzy, and it was a nightmare, for broadcasters. So they made it blue. But technology, the TVs quickly improved past that, and By the time they rolled out, the other specials, they went with red, and it's been red to this day. That's, like I said, if you think Snoopy Eats Doghouse, it's red. Now, another beloved scene, and again, has to do with music, is the dance scene. All the kids, they're all doing their dances, It's really cool. And they're playing the title of that song, I believe, is Linus and Lucy. Anyhow, that dance was kind of just all improv and impromptu. Schultz didn't really think he needed any music. The producer was like, we've got to have some kind of move. There's got to be some kind of action here. So, the animators wrote in this dance scene. Plus, they come up with the idea, dancing is very rhythmic and repetitive. So as tight a schedule as they were on, that actually gave them a chance to do a little bit of simple, animation, and then they just could loop that around, and everybody loved it. Schultz ended up loving it. He's like, yeah, that's how kids would dance. And the thing is, that song that Girardi wrote, it's kind of a weird beat tempo, and it's very hard, especially for kids, for young kids, to get that beat. So all of these, the fact that to make the animation, it's very, very hard to be smooth and total on beat, so they're all a little off and quirky, which everyone said, that's the way kids like this would be. They were not going to go out there and do some perfect, choreographed dance. So it stayed in, and yeah, people love that scene. There was a big trend, and I remember seeing pictures. It was kind of before my time, but my folks had one. But the aluminum Christmas tree, like shiny aluminum, and the rotating colored lights and stuff, they were the big thing. After this aired, like, sale just plummeted over a cliff to any aluminum artificial trees. And even like the next year for Christmas, they were virtually gone, history. All because of this. So, thank Charles M. Schultz, Charlie Brown, and the fine folks at CBS that you don't have some ungodly, ugly-looking, awful aluminum horror show of a tree sitting in your living room right now, this very instant. So, another one of people's favorite characters from this, Lucy Van Pelt. Who doesn't love Lucy? With her 5-cent psychiatric help and her, although I understand at one point in time it's gone up to 10 cents now, maybe? Inflation's hitting everybody, I tell you. But anyway, Lucy Van Pelt, you love her, right? Every time she, does her psychiatry bit, or she pulls the football out on Charlie Brown, although I kind of fault him more. It's like, why do you keep falling for it, dude? Anyway, he keeps kicking, she keeps pulling, he keeps ending up on his back in the ground. So anyway, what can you do? But the interesting thing is, Lucy, Charles Schultz, actually based her character, that first was his wife, Doris Friedman, wife of over 25 years. And yeah, people that knew her would say, yep, that's Lucy all right. Or if they saw Lucy, they'd say, oh, yep, that's Doris all right. So yeah, that was the way I guess their marriage worked so well. Charles was able to vent on everything that drove him nuts about her. In the original airing, remember I told you Coca-Cola had sponsored this, and they had built-in product placement all through it. Here's an example. Scene in the beginning, they're all ice skating, which is another, award-winning piece of music. But so they're skating around, and remember, Snoopy is skating, and he's doing all these fancy skating moves, and he hooks Linus' blanket, and he starts whipping Linus around, and then they wrap, and they catch Charlie Brown, and he's whipping them both around, and then Snoopy gets him spinning and sends him flying, and we see Charlie Brown slides across the ice and through the stone, boom, into a tree, and all the stone falls, and we never see what happens to Linus. Because in that original, Linus slides into a Coca-Cola billboard. That's right. So another example of that, at the end they're singing and the show ends. In the original version, that didn't just fade out to black. That faded to, again, a title page that said, "Merry Christmas from the folks at Coca-Cola Bottle." Now, also, in the original version, they're all around the little tree and they're singing, at the very end. It actually shows in that original version, Snoopy is sitting there, and he's up, and his mouth is moving, and he's singing along with the kids. Well, I guess they had a fit about that, the execs or somebody, but they did make him change that, and that's when they made Snoopy. They put him on the other side, sitting down, just smiling. So I don't know what the big deal was, why people would be so uptight about a dog singing. I don't know, but that's how it goes. That's what I read in my research. And speaking of Snoopy, he makes the voices or noises, gargling, grunting, wheezing, laughing, all that stuff, all the little noises. And by the way, I think it's probably, I don't know, what, 9 out of 10 people would probably say Snoopy is their favorite. I don't know. Pretty popular, though. But such a big, strong character, and he almost takes over every one of those specials. I mean, the scenes from the Thanksgiving special, remember Snoopy in Woodstock, dealing the toast and spearing them, and all that. And that's a character that never says a word, but he's more expressive and animated and full of emotion than any other character in that world. And the animators really had a lot of fun. They said doing Snoopy, because they said he could bend the rules. He could stretch, he could squash, he could blow it. They could do all this stuff to him that they couldn't do to any other characters. So they loved doing Snoopy. But anyway, all those little noises they made was actually Robin Mendez recorded himself making, just as he said, gibberish, weird noises, and then he played around speeding up, the recording speed, until he said, "Oh, that sounds like something like Snoopy would sound like," and that's how they come up with all those little sounds. There. Now you know a little something about Charlie Brown Christmas. I know there's things in there I sure didn't know before. So, and next time I watch it, I'm going to be watching for the Blue Doghouse and for Snoopy singing at the end. And see the part exactly where Linus is cut out from hitting the billboard. But anyway, if you've seen that or you notice it, hey, leave a comment. Tell me about it. I'm going to probably go look for it. But he's dancing, he's got the fishing shirt, and he's dancing, and he's got the alien Christmas hat. Anyway, me, Awesome Sauce Fishing Santa, dung, and Taco, if you can see him back there, and Abby, you can't see, she's off screen. Exit stage right even. And you know where that's from? I don't do it very well, but you still get the idea. So anyway, for all of us, I just want to say, stay cool, stay crazy, be kind to one another, be kind to yourself, keep on loving, do something awesome and cool tomorrow for somebody. Not for any reason, not because you're asked to. Just do something nice for somebody. Do something decent to somebody. That's it. That's your homework. Lovin's. And hey, see you later, my friends. And ho, ho, ho. Merry Fishmas to all, and to all a good bite. Later, babies.